Hello, 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 world. Welcome back, Making It Nation. Welcome to another episode of Making It with Chris G, where we have conversations with people in the world of entertainment who are making it from behind the scenes to the spotlight, sharing their stories and their insight to help you get one step closer to making it. I hope everyone is well. I am very excited about today's guest. This was another 2-hour-long hang. Just a really great hangout that could have lasted, if it were up to me, all weekend long. That was such a great conversation. So we're going to split this up into a 2-part series, and just want to give a big shout out to Emily Kopp, one of our past guests, for making it happen. So for the next 2 weeks, you will hear my conversation with Kevin Stone, the director of programming at Florida Theater, my first talent buyer. I've been a talent buyer for over 11 years. That is my main history in the music industry, and it's taken me 14 episodes to finally have a conversation with one of my kind. And this is a good one. This is a really, really good one. This was the first time I met Kevin Stone, thanks to Emily for making that introduction, and I really love his philosophies on booking shows, being a man of service and hospitality to not only the artists he books, but also his community in Jacksonville, Florida. And if you haven't been to the Florida Theater in Jacksonville, you have to go see a show there. Absolutely have to. If you're in Florida or near Florida and there's a show on the road that you're seeing that's coming to the Florida Theater, go see it there. Just make a cool trip out of it. Jacksonville's on the beach. You have a football team there. Not that good, but there's a lot of cool stuff to do in Jacksonville. And you have the Florida Theater. It's a historic, beautiful venue, really great acoustics. I've seen a show there, unfortunately only one, so the next show that I want to go see, I'm going to make sure I'm going to see it at Florida Theater, because it is such a great experience, and meeting Kevin Stone there was just a reminder of what a beautiful, beautiful venue it is. And it's also famous for having Elvis Presley perform there. I think it was in the 50s. Kevin had the original show poster from when Elvis performed there in his office, in a frame in his office. And I think we talked about the story in the podcast, but I'll add a picture of it in the show notes as well. And if you're in a hurry to see it, it is definitely worth seeing. It's on my Instagram page as well, at Chris Goyzueta, ChrisGoyzueta. And yeah, keep in touch with me there while you're on my Instagram page. And it's the same handle on Twitter. Just keep in touch. Say what's up. Let me know what you're thinking about the podcast. Say hi. Let me know what kind of guests you want to see on the show, what you want to learn more of. And please remember to subscribe. We're on iTunes, Podcast Addict. We're also now on Stitcher, SoundCloud, pretty much anywhere where podcasts live. So please subscribe. It really means the world to us, especially if you can leave a review. That really helps us get up on the iTunes rankings and hopefully get more and more great guests on the show. Just as awesome as the next 2 weeks are going to be with Kevin Stone. So before we get more with Kevin, let's go to the lesson for the week. So our MB Talk, or Entertainment Talk. Last week, I had a great conversation with photographer and content creator Herb Gonzalez, a.k.a. Lion the Lion. You'll learn a lot of great lessons in that episode about photography, creating content, and a whole lot more. Herb was full of information bombs, and it's just still so early in his career, and it was awesome everything that he had to share about the world of photography. And I wanted to share a few tips that he gave us, and they're super simple. So first, on photos, don't half-ass photography. You want to take good photos. It's too easy. There's too much great technology available these days to take a picture, to edit a photo. It's too easy. It's definitely not something you should waste time on. You can take beautiful pictures from your cell phone. If you're an artist, creator, actor, athlete, entrepreneur, heck, anybody that takes photos, it's worth the investment to have a phone that takes great pictures. Don't try to save money on that. Get the best camera that you can. And if you're an aspiring pro, you'll obviously never get the quality that you get from a cell phone as you do with a professional camera. But for the average person, just buy a good phone with a good camera. It makes a world of difference. It's so easy to create content. It's too easy to not do it. So go do it. So here are 2 easy tips that Herb shared in the interview with many more. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to listen to it. He's a really cool dude, and it was a fun conversation. He's got the world ahead of him. He's going to accomplish a lot of great things. But 2 simple tips. So now you have the cell phone, right? You're going to take pictures with, and this is so simple. Wipe your lens every single time before you take a picture. Just wipe the lens. It's that easy. But by wiping the lens, you'll get much better clarity and much better quality in your photos. It's that easy. Second, download a photo editing app, and the one Herb recommended is V as in victory, SCO. VSCO. Yes, Instagram has great filters and great editing tools, but you're not going to post every picture on Instagram. This app gives you better or equal quality editing abilities than what's available on Instagram, and you can share a great quality and nicely edited photo on all your social platforms. On Instagram, you're only sharing it on Instagram, and when you share, so we've talked about in the past, when you share a photo from Instagram, you don't want to share the same thing on all your social platforms. So having an app like VSCO gives you the ability to share nicely edited photos without having to post the same thing that you're posting on Instagram already. So stop taking crappy photos. It's easier than ever to create and share good quality content. So I've talked a lot about content because it's so important to have good content. And it's easier than ever to share great content, but it also makes it harder to stand out. So be better than average. Take good quality photos and use a good editing tool. So get tips like this and many more from my interview last week with Herb Gonzalez, episode number 13. So let's get on to our guest, Kevin Stone, the program director at Florida Theater in Jacksonville, Florida. He started his journey in the entertainment business when he graduated college in 1999 from a college in Toronto, Canada. And we'll talk about that in this interview. After many years on the road, he landed at Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater, Florida, where he became eventually the director of entertainment. While at Ruth Eckerd Hall, he started an awesome concert series with the Tampa Bay Rays, the Major League Baseball team out in St. Pete, where he promoted many amazing concerts from which we will share some cool stories in this conversation. Then in 2013, he became the director of programming at Florida Theater, also known as a talent buyer to the promoter world. And the Florida Theater is a beautiful 1,900 capacity, historic venue. He's bringing all kinds of amazing concerts and events to the Jacksonville community. Kevin Stone is a man of service that gives back so much to the live music community. He's such a huge advocate for live music and also makes time for his family with as crazy of a schedule he has. This was such a fun interview, and I'm excited to bring you this conversation the next 2 weeks with Kevin Stone. I hope y'all enjoy. I'm very excited to introduce you guys to the Director of Entertainment at the Florida Theater, Mr. Kevin Stone.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for coming up to us.
Yeah, thanks so much for being
We're
on the
in
show.
Jacksonville, Florida.
In Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, it's beautiful, right?
Yeah, so what brings someone from Toronto, Canada down to Jacksonville, Florida?
Oh, you're going way back. It's kind of funny how you get to these kind of places. But I was, I grew up in Toronto. You're right, a Blue Jay fan, based by the Sky Dome picture in the background.
Nice.
I was working my way. I went to school in Toronto for theater arts, technical production. Mm-hmm. Landed some touring jobs in family entertainment. Which took me on, a national U.S. tour with Caillou and Magic School Bus and Garfield.
Oh, very cool.
And, it's just, I had a corporate production company in Toronto at the time. And I started realizing how boring that was. The money was good, but there was no love or passion for sitting there doing PowerPoint presentations for, board meetings and sales pitches. So I decided to kind of give that all up, and I was going to go back and do the theatrical thing for a while. And I toured through the U.S. for it was like 2000, most of 2004 into early 2005. And I actually came through the Florida Theater 3 times in sort of that year and a half time period, along with many other theaters across the country and in Florida. And I always loved. There were 3 theaters in the country that I just sort of had a soft spot in my heart, and one of them was here at the Florida Theater, and one was the King Center in Melbourne.
And
that's
a nice venue too.
Yeah, and one was Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater.
Okay.
So
all your soft spots were for Florida venues.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just sort of random how that happened, and those are the ones that I had the most connection with, whether it was the crew, I don't even know how to explain why. It's just sort of random that those 3 theaters kind of were top of the list. So on the 3rd time I went through Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater, I really was just going to say goodbye to the tech director, Tyson, and we were chatting, and he was taking me to say goodbye to the caterer. Her name was Sally Milano. Because who we were doing family entertainment, so you're not getting the elaborate spreads you get when you're doing arena tours,
right? Sure.
Or even big theater tours. But Sally would take the typical continental breakfast, and she would add biscuits and gravy or
nice.
give you a hot breakfast, and we appreciated that.
Made
more
it
than
feel like
anybody.
home a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, biscuits and gravy didn't feel like home because we're Canadians who had no clue what that was. So that was like a real southern thing. But I wanted to say goodbye to her, and I had seen her 3 times in the last year, and so he was taking me up in the elevator, and he said, "Hey, we have a production manager job open. Are you interested?"
Oh.
And I hadn't really thought about that. I hadn't really thought about moving. I was just kind of mid-20s going, what am I going to do next? And he kind of said that, and I was like, all right, I could do this. So we chatted that was December of 2004, and we kind of chatted for a while.
And you graduated in 99?
Yeah, you did your research. Yeah.
Did a little bit of homework.
Wow. I didn't realize I was out there that much.
There wasn't much to find, but LinkedIn helped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I haven't been on LinkedIn in ages. I graduated in 1999 and worked at, we're jumping back, but worked at theme parks and just things around in Toronto, and which I guess ultimately led to those tours. So it kind of, in a roundabout way, in that elevator going to say goodbye to Sally, Tyson did all but offer me the production manager job. We then went through the interview process and got the job. Ironically, he called me April 1st of 2015, and I truly was like, "This is an April Fool's joke," we finished tour April 21st, and May 1st I was at Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater. Just packed up my little Pontiac Grand Am with a buddy of mine, and golf clubs, baseball gear, some clothes, and off we went. And so
very cool.
Yeah, so I did production there for a year and a half or so. The timeline starts to get a little fuzzy, and then after that, I obviously met Bobby Rossi, who's been booking that place for 20 years now.
He's the program director.
Yeah. Executive. His title at C, Chief Programming Officer, Executive Vice President. I mean, he's truly my mentor and the probably the best theater buyer in the country. My opinion. But he's probably also one of the best talent buyers across the board with what he's been doing there. So it was great to kind of be a sponge and learn from him. But after the year and a half in production, Bobby and I really got to know each other well. And so he wanted to do shows off-site, kind of break down the four walls of the theater and go Ruth Eckerd Hall on the road and go do shows at Tampa Theater or the Palladium or festivals or the Show Palace in Hudson, Florida or whatever. And so he was kind of doing that. He had this idea to do that on his own, and I was like, I'll cover them. I'll cover whatever show you want to do. I'll cover. It was something different. It was like
for those that don't know what is covering a show, what does that mean?
Yeah. So you book a show at an offsite property. Covering means we come and represent the theater, the promoter on that day. Make sure that everything is in order for the artist that day. Make sure production's right. Make sure catering's right. Make sure the dressing rooms are set, and then settle the show at the end of it. It's not something I'd ever done before, but I just knew that I want to do this. I want to know everything there is to know about this side of the business.
Right.
It was, it wasn't about. It's not about working with more artists, although that's sort of a cool benefit of what we do. I really just like the business aspect of it all. I mean, I just loved the event and the business and the all of it. And when you got to the point of showtime, that was that's the fruit of your 12-hour labor that day. Plus all of your work ahead of time to make sure it's all set up.
That's a very interesting business model, because usually for a theater, and especially a nonprofit theater, you traditionally just do those events at your theater.
Yeah.
And you guys were doing what other different types of venues you were doing shows at?
We were, in addition to the standard Ruth Eckerd stuff, while we were there, we were doing shows at Tampa Theater. We were doing festival. We booked Taste of Pinellas for a long time. We did Clearwater Jazz Holiday. We did some shows at the Show Palace at Dinner Theater in Hudson, Florida. And it really was, when you get a call from an agent, you want to be able to say yes more often than say, like, I don't have a space for that.
Right.
So similar to where the position I'm in now, where we're only one theater that we operate. I want to be able to take Tony Danza and go, he's not really doing 2,000 tickets, so but why don't we go to the Show Palace and do 2 shows and knock out 800? And so you just create partnerships with the other venues, and then it just sort of snowballs. But you want it more often than not. You want to be able to say yes. Like I can find a place for that. We can make that work.
So you always try to find the right home for an artist, wherever that would be, and that eventually that grew. Because you guys did some shows at the arena as well from time to time, or
when I was there, we did one. Okay. We did the Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Foxworthy, the Bill Engvall show. But since then, Bobby has done Dolly Parton there and did Amy Schumer, and so he, it's just sort of grown over the years. And like you and I talked about, we out of the box thinking, we partnered with the Tampa Bay Rays and booked and produced their summer concert series.
And you said that was your baby. So tell me, so since your baby, explain like how that came about, at the whole process, and
so a guy named Brian Killingsworth with the Tampa Bay Rays approached us, and I think he had met Bobby at a Rays summer baseball camp where Bobby's kids were playing, and so Brian approached us and said, I have this idea. I want to try to do some things for our season ticket holders and do a little post-game concert. And so in 2007, we tested the waters. So we booked 4 shows, and they were smaller scale shows, and it was Shana Na and Chuck Negron of Three Dog Night and Family Stone and
how fun
and one more that escapes me. And we did it on the back of a flatbed truck, and but it was we want to do this, and so then it was, sure, we'll find you 4 acts and we'll produce it for you, and then we turned and went, how are we going to do this? Like, it's a baseball stadium, and it's totally unconventional.
And it was inside the stadium, or
it was on the field,
oh, wow.
So it was great working with the Tampa Bay Rays team to figure out what the parameters are that we can work within to produce this show. 'Cause obviously it's primarily a baseball stadium, so you want to make sure you do that. So we did this on the back of the pickup truck, and it worked, and people liked it, and so the next year they really stepped it up, and I think we went from 4 to 10.
Wow.
You know, Trace Atkins and LL Cool J and the Beach Boys, and
so they really some bigger names then too.
So they really put some effort into it, and they said, we're going to do this, and we're going to, you know, and that was going to be Trace Atkins. I think it was the first one we did that was really big at that time. That really had a higher level of production, and it was, I believe it was February where they decided we're going to do this, and that was May, and I was like, we can't do the back of a pickup truck,
right?
Or the back of a flatbed truck. So I ended up giving my buddy Pat Clark at ESI a call, and I need you guys to work with me on this. So
now ESI is a production company that rents stages, and
ESI is a sound company out of Tampa. But he's kind of like my go-to guy when it's one of those things where I don't know who to call. I call Pat and we work it out. But he introduced me to a guy named John Clark, and John he had a company called Superstar Stages or Super Stages. But John's an engineer, so you know, it's one of those things like it wasn't typical to what you don't just call the staging company and say, I need a stage, you know, 24 by 32, bring it.
Right.
This had to be a 24 by 32 stage that was also folded up to be parked in a 17-foot garage for a baseball game, and then oh, by the way, you know, game over, you got to be set up in 10 minutes.
Wow.
So there was a lot of that. So you know, it was a lot of work, but John ended up we kind of came up with a design, and John, you know, implemented it, and the first year we did 24 by 16 feet so that we can fit through that 17-foot hole. And started to realize I needed more space. The bigger this gets, the less opportunity I'm going to have to be able to do any major artist on a 16-foot deep stage. So I talked to John, and I said, okay, for next year, think ping pong table. So I need 8 more feet, and he said, I don't know how to do it. I think ping pong table. So it was literally like a massive piano hinge with an 8-foot deck on the front that he hooked up to motors.
Wow.
To lift up, so you're still within that 17-foot hole, but when you get into place, the front 8 feet drops down, and then you can push some of the frontline stuff, the monitors and the guitar pedals and the microphones and all that kind of stuff. You push that all downstage. It kept everything contained on the one cart. So other people have been doing it, but they've been having to take 4 stages and connect them together, which means you're having to break apart everything to
sure, and it takes up more time, and if you only have 10 minutes to set up.
Yeah, so you know, we just pooled resources, and working with Pat at ESI, we came up with a system to fly a PA system on shooter boom lulls, so that we can get them off the ground and do it like a true concert, as opposed to the other teams that when they did it, they were doing ground stacked.
Right.
And the first year we did ground stacked, and it was like brutally loud on the field. Like, you can't, you know. So we had to do this, and in order to get up to the top of the dome, we needed more boxes. So, you know, that it was my baby because I was tasked to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we're doing this, go, and it was great, and the community took notice, and every year we got to expand, and artists got bigger, and you know, we did multiple artists on the same date, which was tough. And, you know, but
so we did multiple artists in the same date. Would you have like a pre-show and a post-show?
No, it was a 3 Doors Down, ZZ Top, Gretchen Wilson package.
Oh wow. So
it was Father's Day weekend. I'll never forget it. I didn't get much sleep that weekend. And I had the idea was to have John create a duplicate stage, so that you could do it festival style and have, you know, Gretchen Wilson start on one, and then with really no break, 3 Doors Down starts, and then ZZ Top comes back to this stage and finishes. And long story short, John just couldn't get it done for whatever reason. Just couldn't get the stage built, and he was even on property at 7 a.m. that morning trying to build this stage, and we finally got to the point where like we're done. We got to find another solution. We got to go to Plan B because we just can't do this. It's not going to work. So we ended up taking Wenger staging, normal, portable staging, and just putting it on the front of that the 24 deep stage, and just building. So you would have ZZ Top set up, and then Three Doors Down set up, and then Gretchen Wilson set up, and then as one was done, you would just peel it away.
Okay.
So it wasn't the prettiest.
So Gretchen Wilson almost barely had any space to perform on with two other bands.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
But that's normal for the first of three on
the
show. But everybody was really great, and everybody put their head together, and we figured it out, and it was a stressful day, and I learned a lot that day. And what I learned was, you don't run and hide. Like, things didn't go as planned, and I could have hit for the day, and but you stand in front.
You go hide in the office and prepare some settlements.
Yeah, exactly. Or so you're front and center going like, this is it. We got to make this work, and so by me being out front, kind of shows everybody else that like we're gonna figure this out, and we're gonna get through it. And everybody rallied, and in the end it worked, and there really wasn't a whole lot of sleep, but it was a great story, and it was a great time, and professionally it was the hardest thing I'd ever done, and hopefully the hardest thing I will ever have done. And maybe that was what wanted to get me out of the production side of things a little bit more. I don't know, but it was looking back on it, it was a success that it all came together. And the beauty of it was, while I was having a rough day, and the Rays are stressing about it, and I'm stressing, and Bobby's stressing, the fans had no idea. So we were still able to entertain 25,000 fans. They don't need to know what it took to get there. They just know that they saw a great baseball game.
Sure.
I'm going to say they won. I don't remember, but for the sake of the conversation, it was a walk-off homer, right?
And bottom of the ninth,
walk-off homer, crowd's going crazy, and we implemented Plan B. It wasn't Plan A. Plan A would have been great. Plan B, we executed flawlessly. And the fans had a great time. So I'm not gonna stress over it. I learned a lot, but at least I had that Plan B to fall back on. So
and that's the beauty of it, because the fans a lot of times don't know unless things really hit the fan. But a lot of times you run around with like a chicken with your head cut off. Yeah. But
the best line I always got was, the more prepared you are up front, the easier it is to deal with those fires that come up.
Sure, yeah.
And I've seen, in the 11 years I've been doing it in Florida, I've seen a lot of people who are, the phrase checking with their head cut off. They're just running around frantic all the time, and it's like putting fire on top of fire. But if the better you plan ahead of time, the easier it is for you to just deal with that one fire when it comes up.
What are some things that someone can do to create, I guess, a contingency plan for a show that, let's say, they're still very new to it, and it's like, what are some common mistakes or things that can come up and happen, and how can you prepare for those things? Which probably seems like second nature to someone like you that's done.
Well, it's not. It's the biggest thing I do is surround myself with good people. That was one of the biggest mistakes I made, and everything seems to be revolving around Pat Clark. But everything, the one of the earliest mistakes I made was, we did a show in Lakeland. It was a barbecue festival that Firefall played. And it was, we got a call, can we help? And so we did. The guy didn't have a whole lot of production budget. So Pat said, like, for that, I really can't do it. But here's a guy who can do it for that amount. And I said, okay, I totally understand that. Getting there and doing the event, it was it was horrible. I mean, the show went on. A fan didn't know, like we talked about. But from my perspective, you know, the guy, the monitor engineer is drinking, you know, and hiding his beer under the thing, and the band shows up, and hey man, can we just move this monitor here? And they're like, nope, and you know, and so it wasn't what I was used to. So I then went back to Pat and I said, I don't care what, you know, you're coming with me for the big budget stuff, and you're coming with me for the small budget, and it was like no problem, because we were on the same line that. It's good quality gear, good quality people, you know, and you know, so that when the, you know, when the stuff hits the fan, it's going on. This is not going on general. I can say, I can say shit. I just said shit on a podcast.
Feel free to use it as much as you want.
Well, it's not normally my style, but when the shit hits the fan, you're surrounded by people you trust, who you know are going to get it done in their sort of silos that they're working on. You know, and that's the biggest thing that is building a team for your events.
Absolutely, yeah.
That you trust, and it's not a one-man show.
Yeah, it's so important building a good team and not cutting corners. I feel like a lot of people try to cut corners because maybe they don't know how, or they're trying to save a buck, but.
Well, that's normally it's about, that's what it is. It's normally I need to save $5, so I'm gonna cut the corner.
But it seems like everything you guys were doing at Ruth Eckerd is trying to find a place to bring a show to, and it's like playing the long game, because you're probably doing a lot of that to build a stronger relationship with the agent, build a stronger relationship with the artist.
Absolutely.
So you're thinking about the long game, not just a short-term buck that you might save.
That's right. And being a not-for-profit company, we're not looking at that one individual show. You know, we're making an investment into artists and becoming promoter of record for that artist in that market. And the idea was to do them at a smaller theater in hopes that they grow to the big theater, or hope that we can use it for the Tampa Bay Rays, or you never know. And sometimes it's the reverse, where somebody's just not performing where they need to perform at Ruth Eckerd Hall or a 2,000 seater. You know, let's take it down to a 700 seater and sell it out. I mean,
right.
So everybody feels good at that point. We just sold out at whatever the venue is. So it works both ways. But it's being smart about where you put, you know, an artist, and again, like you said, it's creating that relationship with the agent, so that they know that you're a call. Right. You're not a wasted call.
Someone they can rely on.
Yeah.
Job's going to get done right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool.
So I think the original question was how we got to Jacksonville, but
yeah, well, you're doing great. I actually want to go backwards for a second. Yeah. So you got a bachelor's degree from techno theater and design from Sheridan
College.
Yeah. Sheridan College, and that's in Toronto, Canada. What inspired you to go into school for that degree? Was entertainment and live music always something that you have an itch for, or what was it inspired you?
Yeah, it was the 8th grade. I call it grade 8 as a Canadian, but it was the 8th grade. I've been here long enough. When I was working on our production of Wizard of Oz, and I was what I now know is called a stage manager, but I didn't know what that. I was just doing tasks to do this show with the rest of my friends, and so I was like, this is fun. This is really fun. So we did that in the 8th grade, and then we go into college. And in elementary school, I was on the volleyball team, so that was my like after school extracurricular. I played volleyball. We traveled. We it was great. We had a good time. My problem was I didn't grow early enough to translate that to high school. I got to high school thinking I'll play volleyball, and
everybody got taller.
I was like 4'6", and then these guys are 6 feet tall, jumping over me. so volleyball was out, and I was looking for something to do, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, why don't you join the stage crew?" And I was like, "Oh, I liked that in elementary school," so I did that, and we were the crew that set up the graduation and the Battle of the Bands or whatever we were doing, and ultimately the crew that did the school play every year. So I did that, and I did that all through high school, and just enjoyed it and said, you know what, I'd like to make a career out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I chose theater arts, thinking I was going to go into the
more traditional theater,
traditional theater, Broadway, and then I started working out of school at a theme park, and they were still doing shows, but I started doing the park audio and video and lighting systems.
Mm-hmm.
So the speakers that were in the roller coasters that up the climb, telling you to keep your arms and legs.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I'd make sure that the microphone was connected, that was all working.
Okay.
So it gave
so
me
nobody lose a limb.
Oh yeah.
So nobody lost a limb.
Exactly. And I had a fear of heights at the time. So there's no better way to get over that than climb, what felt like 100 stories straight up in the air to fix a speaker on a roller coaster.
Mm. Is that what I gotta do? Because I have an extreme fear of heights.
Yeah,
and when I get on the airplane,
it forces you to forget about that. You start to feel comfortable with the tie, the tie line that the system you're tied into. But I don't. I trust me. I like my feet firmly planted on the ground. But it taught me more about the intricacies of audio and lighting and video as opposed to just the theatrics of it all. But doing that, we were also the crew that handled the concerts at Kingswood Music Theatre.
Okay.
It's called Canada's Wonderland.
Okay.
And so we would, the first show I ever did was either Clint Black or Terry Clark, and I can't remember which. It was like a week apart, but it was those two. I remember that part of it. And I remember standing there going, like, this is amazing. Like, and Clint was huge at the time, and Terry was huge at the time. So I was like, this is unbelievable. I can be here? I shouldn't be allowed to be here.
Right.
And so that was like the moment where I had that spark in my eye, like, this is what I want to do. I want to continue in this business. I don't know how. I just want to continue doing this. So it took me a while to get back to the concert world, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. And when I went to Ruth Eckerd Hall, I thought I was really going to enjoy the Broadway side of things, and that's when I found out, like, I really enjoy the concert end of it more than the Broadway side of it, because you just feel like you're more in the community of it all on the concert side of it than you do in the Broadway side of it.
Now, working for a theater like Ruth Eckerd Hall, you do all kinds of events, because you mentioned the Broadway, and but you also do live music. What are all the different types of shows and events that you did at that venue?
Well, we had a Broadway series, and we did mostly concerts, comedians, but you'd pepper in a little bit of a dance product, an opera, classical music, that soloists, Itzhak Perlman's or Josh Bell's or that kind of stuff. Okay. And then when you're in production, you were doing every graduation and dance recital and holiday show and all that kind of stuff. So you really got to experience a variety of entertainment, and it allowed me to sort of find my real, destiny and my path, and which is more in the live music comedy, live event. I mean, I still like the theatrical events for when I'm booking, and I'm really trying to book for everybody. But the connections I've made within the industry seem to be stronger. Like the friendships seem to be stronger on the live music side.
What was the first concert you ever been to, and then the first concert you ever booked?
The first concert I ever went to were the Temptations.
That's a good one.
Ontario Place. So
when was that?
Oh, geez. So that was probably 1986. Wow. 84. I was either 6 or 8 years old. My parents took us to the Temptations, and again, it was that moment, like I had heard My Girl, and then so I see the group playing My Girl. This is crazy. So the fact that now I actually booked the Temptations with the Four Tops on a regular occurrence is mind-boggling. Like it's truly mind-blowing that I'm in the presence of these guys. the first show I ever booked myself, I don't ever remember. I think it was R5 at the Capitol Theater in Clearwater, like the one that Bobby said, it's all you.
Right.
I think it might have. I think it was R5.
Okay.
The first show I ever booked in this building was Dave Chappelle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Was that one of those last minute, they call you the week of?
Yeah, so I was just, like, that was truly a moment of the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
It was my second day on the job here. So it would have been December 2nd of 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a call from our friends at Live Nation Comedy, and asking about a specific date, and I said, well, we have a holiday party, but I can probably move that. He's like, great, you're confirmed with Dave Chappelle for 2 shows, and I was like,
wow,
fantastic. Can't consider it moved. And in the midst of that, I'm in the car driving. I was commuting from Clearwater to Jacksonville. I spent a few days here, go back home, and come back. So I was like in the car with my wife and son and trying to work out the deal and get it on sale ASAP, because I think we had 2 weeks notice.
Right. That's how he books most of his shows, right? They're usually all last minute.
Last minute, yeah.
It's so crazy, and then they all we probably sold out within
hours,
days.
It was completely clean within a couple days, but it came
incredible.
out of the box just monster. So that was a pretty cool thing for it to be the first thing I booked here.
It's really cool.
Yeah,
landed at the right place.
right place, the right time.
What have been some of your biggest challenges working in the entertainment business?
It's ever evolving. I think. I mean, just when you think you got your finger on the pulse moves, and you have to try to move with it, and it moves ever so slightly, And this week is sort of prime example of it, where you try to keep your finger on the pulse, and the election, or the election coverage, I should say, just derails everything that you thought was normal, and I think this year is a little different than this election is different.
Oh, sure, it was pretty intense.
Yeah, just on the media coverage and the how in depth everybody got in and still into it.
Sure.
So sales certainly drop, and you can see that the Black Friday sales are down from normal, and so I think it's just it's hard to keep your finger on the pulse of relevance when relevance keeps changing all the time.
Sure. That would be a big challenge, like always trying to figure out what the economy, how's that affecting the shows, what are the bands selling, and who are the hot bands to book, and that always changes.
That band did 1,900 tickets last time, and come back and you're at 1,000 tickets, and you go, what happened? And I mean, the biggest challenges are all, I think it's every market is competition. There's Jacksonville has a really great music scene, probably like Orlando and Tampa, and our friends at St. Augustine are doing great things, and we're the 1,900 seater in a market that has a 1,900, 2,900, 4,000, and now is under construction on a 5,000 seater.
Wow,
that's a lot of
options.
A lot of options for a relatively small market, or tertiary market, a big city but tertiary market. So trying to figure out who you can book and retain, right? Because the kicker is always the ones that you get lucky with, and sales just blow out. Supply and demand, it's basic economics. They're looking for that next step, right? Which I totally get. I'd rather do consistently 1,500 people with somebody, and that way it's a constant year after year that this is your home. But so it's trying to find those artists that are that you continue to keep promoter history with, and that will continue to come to your building because it's the right play, that's the challenge. And on the artist side, which I totally understand, it's a game of economics and the pursuit of happiness and all that kind of stuff. So
Sure.
I don't fault anyone, but you just you sometimes you grow something and then it outgrows you and it moves on, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but you say, okay, I'm gonna move on as well. I'm gonna try to find something else to grow.
Does it make it more challenging? Like where in Clearwater you had other venues you would bring shows to not having like that option here? Like does it make it more challenging to develop relationships with artists?
Yeah, I mean, it really does. We're doing this year 4 shows at the theater called the Ritz Theater, which we're not doing. They're not artists they're not up and coming artists because basic expenses that don't allow me to do that there because it's not my building,
right?
So it's those artists where either we're booked, so let's take it over there, or Florida Theater's just not, it's just too big for you at this stage. So why don't we try it out over there?
What's the capacity at the Ritz?
It's 400 seats.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're testing that out. See, it's a little bit more challenging, but I'm one person here, so
sure.
I can't be everywhere all the time. So I'm trying to say yes as much as I possibly can and figure it out, but within reason of, is it the right move for us?
Right.
We partnered with the Ponte Vedra Concert Hall to do Here Come the Mummies, which I thought,
that's a fun show.
Fun band, yeah. I'm sure. Well, you weren't at the Plaza at the time, but
we were. We did them probably 2 or 3 times while I was there.
Yeah, so you get it.
Yeah.
One of those bands where I just wanted to be involved with. I wanted to have some promoter record on that band, but I knew that 1,900 seats wasn't right for that band at that time. So we partnered with them and with the Ponte Vedra Concert Hall, and I promoted it down there, and we did a few hundred people, and we got out of the show, but the crowd was amazed by what they saw. So we'll bring it back and hopefully grow that band in this market. So it's few and far between, but because my prime goal is to put shows into this building.
Is there part of you that has a goal to kind of replicate what you guys did in Clearwater and start eventually doing more shows outside of this building? Or
it would, yeah. I mean, I guess that's a little bit of a goal, but I haven't found the right situation to do that yet.
You mentioned being a promoter on record a couple of times. How important is it to be the first person to book an artist in a market, and how much loyalty is there in general to when you're the first person to be the promoter on record?
Well, you hope that it means something. You want to. I mean, I think when you're the promoter of record and you're also a venue, sometimes you're not looked at as a promoter. You're looked at as a venue.
Right.
So it's changing the mindset that we can be both. That we are the venue and the promoter, and so the term, having the history on an act, usually helps you kind of keep that history with it. Obviously within your, getting that act to replay your building. But if the act outgrows you, it's harder for me to convince them that while I have the history, while I'm the promoter of record, they look at me as a venue. So once it gets outside the venue, but you're the venue, you
right.
And I'm saying, no, but let me take that show to a bigger space. And we almost had a few opportunities. We're doing this. I actually can't mention it, but we're doing a show. That I have history. I was the first person to ever do the show, and it had grown, and we were going to do it. I said, and I fought that battle. If you need it to be at a bigger space, let me be the promoter. And so I won that battle, and so I was able to take it off site.
That's awesome.
In turn, the availability of venues didn't work out based on the tour, so it came back to this building.
Okay.
Which is a win-win.
That is a win-win,
win situation. It's a win in the fact that I was able to convince an agent that I have the history, I'm the promoter, I have the data for the last plays. You know, if this is going to come to the market, I should be the promoter. And he was like,
Sure.
"You're absolutely right. Get me an offer for this building." And I was like, so I made it work. And lucky for me, the Veils didn't work, so it ended up having to come back to this building. So it was a win-win situation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of agents, if you had to put some steps together, like what are some steps to developing a relationship with an agent and keeping a positive relationship with someone?
I mean, I think doing your best to respond to an agent, and realize the agent has a job to do just like you do, and like I said, saying yes as much as you possibly can, or saying no in a constructive way, not a straight pass, but like really take thought to, hear them out and listen to their product. As you know, you get a lot of calls through the day that you truly just can't respond to everything. It's as one person, it's just humanly not possible. Right. So you pick and choose the stuff that makes sense to your building. It just they're there for you as much as I'm there for them. I can't always expect them to just hand me the juicy bones.
Sure.
I have to do something to help them route their tours, and get their artists into our building. And every now and then that means I take a hit on something. You just hope that they remember that, and next time around when the A+ show comes around the market, that you're in the conversation, and that they go to battle for you.
Right.
Met some really great people who are talent agents. And, they don't have an easy job.
And, absolutely not at all.
And the better I understand what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish, I think the better the relationship is going to be. And so we treat they become friends, and you see them at conferences, and you go for dinner, and you go for drinks, and you hang out, and that time alone is, even if you're not talking specifically about their artist, that time alone is huge.
Absolutely, yeah. So you make a lot of effort to travel to conferences or to Nashville, New York, where the big agencies are in LA.
I do. I don't get out to LA all that often, and I think that's just because it's such a long trip, and the time difference, and I'm one man here, and so show coverage kind of takes precedence more often than not, and then I have a wonderful wife and son.
Yeah,
and so
they love to spend time with.
Yeah, that when I'm not working day and night like I am this week, I want to go home. So I make every effort to go to the major booking conferences, the Performing Arts Exchange, which was in Orlando this year, and APAP, which is in New York every year. I make an effort to go to those because all those people I would see in LA or Nashville, they all come in, so we can all see each other then. I would like to get out to Nashville more than I do, and not just to visit Emily Kopp, but that would just be a
shout out to Emily.
Yeah, she gave me a shout out. I heard
she did,
the other day twice.
Yeah.
So that was very nice. So a second shout out.
You were one of her champions.
Yeah, which I messaged her after I listened to that. After you and I connected, and I kind of was listening to the podcast, and I wasn't expecting what I heard, but I didn't realize the story continued after the whole Rob Thomas tweet.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew everything.
Oh, that's right. You were there for that.
I booked her.
You booked her for that show.
Yeah, I booked her for that show, and we hung out. I introduced her to Rob, and Rob is amazing, and Emily's amazing, and on his own, he tweeted. He listened from the side of the stage, and he tweeted at her, and that alone is cool enough.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it led to, like, that one little moment led to a bigger door, another door opening for Emily. So that was like a proud moment for me.
Absolutely.
That I was able to do that. But I messaged her. I was like, we got to catch up. I need to hear the full story.
Yeah.
But
that's the fun part about doing the podcast, that you get those shared stories that people don't hear every day, because you always hear the big mainstream popular stories, but there's so many amazing stories behind the scenes, like your story that we're diving into now, and Emily's story. I mean, what happened that night with Rob Thomas almost sounds like a fantasy story you don't ever hear anywhere. And
it goes to tie into her stories. I mean, everything she said was complete truth. I mean, I saw her at Delta Ray, and I was just floored. I'm like, who is this? And she couldn't have been nicer, chatting in the lobby when I paid her what I think I paid her $75.
Right.
I felt like, you feel bad, like I don't ever want to have an artist play for free. I didn't necessarily determine that that's what she was going to make that night.
Sure, yeah.
But even here, people will come and say, I'll play for free, and I go, that's your art, man. I'm paying you something.
Right.
That's you deserve it. So
I really respect that. I like that you mentioned that, because there's so many promoters a lot of people starting out that don't know how the business works, trying to expect artists to sell tickets and get a percentage of tickets. I mean, yes, you're trying to make money, and again, talking about playing the long game.
Yeah.
I feel like that relationship and valuing the art, even if it's something, I really.
I don't want to take it. I don't want to abuse any artist, and I don't want to. Certainly, I don't want to abuse any of the local artists who are just trying to live out their dream. So if I don't have the budget to put a support act on, I won't do. I just won't put one on. But if I'm gonna put somebody on to entertain our crowd and give us an intermission, then the least I can do is give them something for their art. And throughout the year, probably 5 times a year, in conversations with artists on various levels, the constant message is, playing is free. Everything what they do on stage that night, that's free. You pay them for their travel to get there. Yeah. I mean, and that's somebody who loves what they do.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
I like that.
And they're willing to play for free, and the local guys are willing to play for free just to play and get out there. But even at that respect, I still there's value to your art.
Sure, and you want to give them money so they can help get to the show and hopefully grow their business keep playing for free because their business is growing.
And maybe there's another Emily Kopp out there that I can meet. And there isn't Emily, but but maybe there's that other artist where I can open one door for.
Absolutely.
Because so many people ahead of me have opened doors, just unbeknownst to them, this doors just open.
Yeah, just the smallest thing can make the biggest difference, and that's the awesome and wonderful part about this career.
It's cool, and it's nice to get these relationships that all tie around Emily, like you and Alec Vidmar, and it's just like. Emily is the glue that holds the Florida music scene together.
Well, the episode I released today, so speaking of Delta Ray, is actually the production manager of Delta Ray. I don't know if you remember him, Adam Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess as of the day we're recording this, that's the episode. This will come out a couple weeks later, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If there's someone that's interested in becoming a promoter and getting into this business, knowing what you know now, I mean, of course, there's like no cookie cutter step to getting there, but what would be your steps that you would advise someone to getting to that job?
Just get involved. I mean, just get in the door any way you possibly can. And the easiest way to get into the concert world is be a runner. Because we're always looking for good quality people to fill that job position that is on 99% of the shows we do.
Mention that one more time, because that's what I tell everyone. What was the position?
Be a runner. Yeah.
And how do you become a runner?
Various ways. I mean, you can call up, the production team from the venue. You can call up the, promoter reps. You can, like knock on the door and say, hey, I'm interested in being a runner for your events. And just ask the question. Ask the security guy out front.
Right.
Who do I have to talk to be a runner? But when you do that, like what we're looking for is someone who is truly interested in being in the business,
right?
And not somebody
who wants to meet the stars and take pictures. Yeah.
Because that's the quickest thing to get you booted from the job.
Absolutely.
This is a profession for all of us, and every one of us has our own craft. I don't play an instrument. I do what I do because I don't do that. But what I do is my art form, my craft, and I was talking about the stagehands that run our building, and our tech director's name is Saul Lucio. He's a craftsman. It's not a job. It's a craft.
Absolutely.
He has a saying that I always quote back to him, and it's like, anybody can put a big show in a big space, but try putting a big show in a small space. Yep. He does it flawlessly all the time. So, find your interest, find your path, and make it a craft. Make it like just friggin' own it.
Absolutely.
And you'll gain so much more respect by owning the job that you're doing than being like, I'm just a runner today, or I'm you got to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of great production managers or tour managers or tour accountants or managers, agents, artists who all were runners at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. And then part of that, getting your foot in the door and going above and beyond and making it a craft. It's also, I would say, it's important to find good mentors. And let's go back. You mentioned Bobby Rossi, how he was one of your mentors. I was going to ask you, who is someone that's been one of your mentors in your career, and how have they influenced that? Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, Bobby was my clear mentor in this building and in this business, and I met Bobby, and I knew production. I knew nothing more than how to hang lights and do sound systems and build stages for the show. But Bobby taught me everything about the backside of the back office of the business, the art of the deal, the relationships, the going the extra mile, or when you invite an artist into your house, like this is our house. You welcome them when they come, and whenever possible, you say goodnight to them at the end of the night. So many people want to you want to turn it into a 40-hour a week business. It's not 9 to 5.
It's a lifestyle.
No, it's a life. Yeah, and I've heard you mention that many times. And I appreciate that, because it's it's a lifestyle, and my wife is super understanding of that fact, and that it's she's grateful when I don't have shows and I'm home, but she understands that I don't roll in at 4:00 for a show and walk around and high five everybody. I was here at 8:30 this morning, and I have a show. I'll probably leave at 12:30 tonight. It's and it's not me complaining. It's just a statement that I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah.
I'd rather do this every day than as Bob and I would always say, than work in a shoe store. It's better than working in a shoe store. Like, look what we're doing. There's passion of it. I mean, 90% of it is like work. But you do that work for that 10% of amazing. But Bobby he was a teacher before he got into this world. He was a teacher. So when he got into this world and learned his stuff, he never stopped being a teacher. So he brought me along to meetings, and he introduced me to agents, and he introduced me to tour managers, and he sent me in the room to settle shows. With guys that James Taylor, his guy, and all the ZZ Top guys in Chicago, and you just, trial by fire,
Right.
and it, be good, be kind. There's nothing more. I mean, it's a business. I mean, and for the artists and the agents and the managers, they're all in a for-profit business. I'm in a non-profit, business. We still have to make money to cover our costs, but
Right.
I'm not driven solely by the profit.
Do you feel like there's an advantage to that in a way? Because do you feel like it allows you to enjoy the art and the beauty of what's happening on stage a little bit more, and not have that pressure of constantly producing numbers?
100%. I mean, we're able to do artistic, cultural stuff because it's not only about the bottom line. I mean, it's an average. By the end of the year, you have to hit your budget because
Sure.
it's again basic economics. But within that budget, you're budgeting in for the art shows that maybe are worth. Truly, their art form is worth more than the tickets that they generate. But you got to do a lot. You got to do a bunch of the pop rock, commercial stuff in order to cover some of those lost leaders, if you will. But it gives you a sense of community, and it gives you a sense of art and culture, and like a lot of times like you're doing great things, and you just wish more people would come celebrate it. Being in the nonprofit, it really is not a self-serving venture. It's not a independent promoter or even a major promoter coming in and going and trying to squeeze every last dime out of it. It's really a collaborative effort, and shows like tonight we have Dave Ka's Christmas. Who I've done Dave Ka's shows every year since 2005. These are it's like family coming back, and you have up years and down years, and you just sort of you just keep at it because it's a beautiful show. It's a great art. It's and there's that relationship that is like we're gonna continue to grow that and build that, grow this together. So I think it has a major advantage, and for me, I'm a salaried employee, so I don't have to worry about the ups and downs. That doesn't drive me. I mean, that commission-based stuff drives a lot of people. The sales people, it drives a lot of people, but that doesn't drive me. The art, building a year full of shows for everybody. And you can look at this week that we've just done, and it's Dream Theater and Dave Ka's and the Octonauts Live and Sarah Evans, and then you go into Nutcracker, and then you have so it's fun. A lot of diversity keeps it interesting. Yeah, absolutely. And from one night you're doing hard rock, heavy metal, and then you're doing a kids show, and then you're doing smooth jazz, and then you're doing blues and country and comedy, and it keeps everything fresh. And so I enjoy that the most. But I enjoy being a mentor as much as I enjoyed mentoring. Yeah. I do. I find that I don't know if people are nervous to ask, but those who do ask or do approach and say, "Hey, I just want to learn." Absolutely. You're more often than not, you're going to get brought under somebody's wing as opposed to pushed aside. Yeah. And I think because I just look for those guys who are like truly into it and who truly want to, be in the business and learn, not the fly by night. And I find that a lot of times interns and such will come along, and they're like, you can spend some time with them, and a lot of the times it's they're PR students or communication students, and they really don't have much interest in what I do, and so you start to talk to them about the types of deals that are in the business, and you see the eyes glaze over, and it's so true. If you're interested, you should just ask. I mean, if you're an intern in the marketing department or you're working the box office, it's about building those relationships, and obviously knowing that the talent buyer is probably super busy, but asking when the moment's right. Yeah. If you're interested in getting to that. And like to think that I'm a approachable person, that I'm around a lot, and I'm willing to answer questions, but you want to, you just want to make sure that you're asking the right questions for the right reason, and know when to take a pause, and so I'll come back. Maybe we'll chat a little later, knowing that they do have work to do.
Right.
But in a 14-hour day, there's a lot of
a lot of downtime. Yeah, absolutely.
And I want everybody to succeed, and so if the more the people around me succeed, the more I succeed.
Absolutely.
And
it's building that solid team.
Yeah, you hope so.
From the bottom up.
But yeah,
love it. Speaking of mentoring, so at Florida Theater, you have a young professionals group called First Act, and ACT stands for Active, Creative, and Talented. I did my homework.
Yeah, you did.
Tell me about First Act.
First Act is a group of young professionals that are I think between the ages of 29 and 39 is the criteria, and it's lawyers and doctors and engineers and marketing people and anybody who just sort of wants to kind of get together and meet people and network and hopefully come see shows, and they'll be champions for our brand, and prior to what show we just had, it might have been Ghost that we just did, and they did a little pre-show party at a Spliffs, which is connected to 1904. And so they invited everybody over there, and then come to the show. So they're just trying to engage that community. I don't have a huge amount to do with them, in terms of kind of keeping that group going. But I did speak at their annual meeting, and again, that's always fun to hear what everybody's what those questions are. What's your everyday like, and I'm happy to I'm lucky enough to be able to be making a career in this business. So why not chat about it? Why not? Yeah. Why not invite more people into it?
What does a week in your life look like?
Well, this is not a normal week, but we're in the midst of I'm in the midst of 7 straight shows. Wow. So that's day and night. I'll say that within this room and then whoever listens to the podcast, but
the podcast universe.
But our tech team goes right from the week that I booked into our Nutcracker, which is a rental. It's been 25 years. It's been in the building, so they don't get a break. Where I get to have a little bit of a break, meaning I don't have to work the night. I still come in and work my days. I'm aware that they keep going, and we're such a small group that nobody's trading off. There's no you cover tonight, I'll cover it tomorrow. It's an all hands on deck kind of a situation. And come 2 weeks from now, we'll take a little bit of a rest. That's not the typical, but on a standard week where you have 3, maybe 3-4 shows, I'll get into the office. I'll drop my son off at school and go to the gym in the morning, and then come into the office, and usually 9:30, 10 o'clock. Unless I don't go to the gym, and then it's like 8:30. But I've really this past year for like the last 10 years, I put everything into work. Work and the family. But we didn't take. My wife and I were the same. We just didn't take care of ourselves. So we took a year to put ourselves first in terms of our health. So that gym time in the morning is kind of grounds me, and even if I work the show the night before, it just you'd think it'd be exhausted, but that just gets me going in the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I need that.
So it's been this year when you started going to the gym, taking that more seriously.
In April, I started going. We started eating healthy in last December, like clean eating, because our son had an incident with medication. He's 6. It's nothing more than an asthma medication.
Okay.
So we started researching all the chemicals that are in our foods, and so we started, all those additives, preservatives, dyes started triggering the effects of the medication that we took him off of. So we got rid of all of that, and it's been, you instantly lose weight, and then you're like, oh, maybe we should go to the gym.
Right.
So we went to the gym, and now it's like a necessity. I have to do it. You can. I'm not bulking up.
Right.
Man,
But it still makes a big difference. Like, have you noticed a difference in your performance at work, especially working such long, brutal days sometimes, long weeks?
I don't get that midday crash. And that's probably more from what I'm eating than from the working out. But all in all, I can sustain through the day with ease. Knock on wood, we've been healthier, so I'm not out of the office more because I have a bad cold or a flu. So all of that just sort of helps me stay working. But it's what I need to do to keep going forward, and I have the flexibility because of the amount of hours I do work on a regular basis to make that a priority now. But I'll get in and it's offers and contracts and on the phone with agents and all day from when I get into the office till that 5-6 o'clock time at night, and then if we have a show, then I'll move into show mode and gather stuff for settlements and all that kind of stuff. But regardless of what's going on our stage that day, I'm still doing my office hours. So it's I got a full-time job, and then I have a part-time job at night. All under the same roof.
How much fun was that? Wasn't that just a cool hangout? Like, did you feel like you were in the office or even in the living room with Kevin Stone and I? That was one of my favorite conversations so far. I mean, all the interviews have been amazing, but this has definitely been a very special one. It was really awesome hanging out with Kevin Stone in his office and showing me around the Florida Theater and just getting to meet someone really great in the music business. There's always all these horror stories we hear and nightmare stories we hear, and it's just really nice to just meet someone that's super down to earth and good person. So stay tuned next week for part 2 of this interview with Kevin Stone. I'm excited for you guys to hear the rest of the story. Thanks everyone for listening. Please subscribe on iTunes or listen to the show anywhere podcasts live. If you get a chance, leave a review on iTunes and help us get up on the rankings. If you're on Stitcher, leave us a review there on Stitcher as well. I really appreciate everyone's support. I'm so happy that all of you guys are listening. I hope you're learning a lot from this podcast and go out and apply the things you're learning. So it's not just about learning, but apply what you're learning. Let me know what you're doing. I really want to hear about it. Tell me about the great stuff you're creating and the things you're learning and how you applied it. I want to hear some success stories. So please share. You can reach me at Chris Goyzueta, so last name Goyzueta, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. The Facebook like page is Making It with Chris G. Here's my email, chris@onelivemusic.org, 1ONE livemusic.org. Reach out to me. Let's keep in touch. Let's make friends. And let me know what you've learned. Let me know what you've created from this podcast. Wish you guys all the best. And remember, try new things, be good to people, create good content, and in the words of the great Bob Marley, live the life you love.